Murder, J Murder, J Murder, J Murder, fucking name. Heckler House, Heckler House. Real big rims, real big tires. This is for the niggas rolling in the Jaguars. Brown in the front, yellow bitch in the back. This is for the niggas rolling in the Cadillac. Now with your bass real heavy when you.
What's up, YouTube? So this round, or for this week, there wasn't much going on, like as you know, really major news or anything. You know, they're attacking Trump because, you know, he's talked about McCain, how he didn't like him or his politics or whatever, which nobody cares. It's just retarded. And then, you know, you had the New Zealand shooting or whatever that the Democrats are trying to make a big deal out of. However, it doesn't pertain to us. It wasn't even in our country. It has nothing to do with us whatsoever. And then the last thing is the whole Disney finally has gotten the green light to use or make movies with the from Fox, because the merger has been finalized. Let's just hope that something's done with Disney, because Disney's becoming a powerhouse in the film industry, and they're very biased and very far left, and they keep trying to put out feminist movies which nobody cares for at all. You know, throwing politics and an evil cult at a religion such as feminism, it just doesn't work, and it's shown. You know, Captain Marvel bombed so bad it wasn't even funny. So, you know, you probably know that, you know, the X-Men, all that's probably going to go in that direction. It's just, it might get bad. We'll see. But anyway, those are the only things that was really going on this week that was talked about, that I saw anyway. So for this round, I'm pretty much going to go over several B movies instead of just one. You know, give you a quick insight into some B movies you may or may not even have ever heard of, and are kind of curious what they might be like, or if they're worth watching or anything like that. So the first one I want to talk about is called Earth Girls Are Easy. It didn't do real well at the box office. It only made about $4 million, so it didn't blow up or anything. It was a little sci-fi comedy. It did have some A-list actors in it, but it was done before they were even really well known. You know, they were known, but they weren't like superstars or really popular. You had Damian Wayans, Jim Carrey, Jeff Goldblum, and Gina Davis, who starred in it. It's just basically, you know, kind of, you know, alien gets girl kind of type movie. You know, Gina Davis is going through this breakup, and a spaceship is coming by Earth, and they see Gina Davis in her pool or whatever with these super, I don't know, like, you know, the Google satellite thing where they zoom in with this viewing thing real close to Earth and see her in the pool, and they screw up something on the spaceship, which Jeff Goldblum was sleeping. He wakes up, he goes over there, and he's able to. He ain't quite able to correct it, but he saves the spaceship, and then by crash landing it into Gina Davis's pool. Now, the guys, they're all these hairy-looking creatures. Damian Wayne's got yellow fur, Jim Carrey's got red fur, and Jeff Goldblum's got blue fur, and they climb out of the spaceship or whatever, and Gina, she takes them inside, and like she's not real worried about it or anything. Aliens in her pool or whatever. It's kind of goofy, but she takes them to see her friend, who's a big beautician, at this beautician parlor, and which Gina also works at. But her friend, basically, what they do is they literally just shave all the hair off of them, colored hair, and then they put them in some clothes and they take them out, to a club, and they dance the night away. Gina has some more problems with her boyfriend or whatever, but eventually they go to leave, they fix the ship, and Gina falls romantically in love with Jeff Goldblum and decides to leave with him, and that's pretty much the gist of the movie anyway. It has a few funny parts in it. It's a comedy. It's not a bad watch. It may not have done real well at the box office, but it's kind of become a sci-fi cult classic. So it's gained popularity over the years. But it's something to watch, and I liked it. It was a decent movie for what it was. The next one I'm going to talk about is called After Hours. Now, this one actually made about $10 million at the box office, so it didn't do too bad. However, the only reason it did so well is because it was by the director Martin Scorsese, and he's pretty well known for directing some good movies. But this one I didn't really care for. I'm surprised it even made that much. It had some actors in it that are fairly well known. You'll recognize most of them. I can't name off the top of my head, except for Cheech and Chong. They're in this movie, but they only have a real small part in it. And it's a bizarre movie. This guy, he's working for this place, and it starts off with him working, and he meets this girl in this restaurant or cafe or whatever. She gives him his number, and he decides that he's going to call her up and ask her out or whatever, and she says, yeah, come on over. And so he's like, okay, cool. So he goes to her place, and then she don't want him there for some reason. And he finds out that she's got a boyfriend, and she's spewing all this crap on him about her boyfriend. It's really weird. You talk about killing herself and all kinds of weird crap. He's just like, okay. So he starts to take off, and the roommate's just as weird. She's like, she's doing the sculptor or whatever, and she's into this BDSM kind of crap. But anyway, he starts to take off, and then she calls him back, and then she's all of a sudden she wants to make love to him or have sex with him, and he's all like, no, I don't think you're my type, blah blah blah. it hurts her or whatever, it hurts her feelings, but he takes off anyway, he gets out of there. Uh, but then he don't have money for a cab. Uh, he must have dropped his last like $100 bill or some crap. Anyway, throughout the night, he's meeting all these crazy ass people. He's trying to get home. You know, I think I'm not for sure, but I think he's in New York. And he's trying to get to the north side of New York. He's way south, and he can't figure out how to get back. You know, he can't take the bus or anything like that. He tries to get bus fare from a bartender. Comes to find out is you know, the girl's boyfriend, but he doesn't know the boyfriend doesn't know what's really going on. And you know, he tries to get bus fare from him, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't work out that way. There's a bunch of, you know, he just keeps meeting all these obstacles trying to get out of there. And these people are just ridiculously crazy. He meets a waitress who wants him to take her with her, and then, you know, she expects him to do this and that, you know, like a husband or something. You know, he just met her. It's weird. It's bizarre. He meets these weird people, and it's not really funny. It's just strange. Anyway, he finally makes it back towards the end of the movie. You know, he finally gets back there to the office. He gets dumped at the office by Cheech and Chong, or kind of like thieves or whatever. Anyway, he gets dumped back at this office, and that's the end of the movie. So it's a weird movie. I didn't care for it all that much. I made it through. It was just because I wanted to know what happened next. It was so bizarre. But you know, if that's your type of comedy, then you're more happy to it. I didn't find it all that great. It wasn't funny. The next one I want to talk about is The People That Time Forgot, which stars Doug McClure, even though he's only in it towards the very end of the movie, you know, for about 15 minutes. But it's a sequel to The Land That Time Forgot, which I'd done in a previous video. So I went ahead and decided to watch this movie. I'd never seen it before. It was done in the 70s. And it was alright for a watch, a sci-fi watch, if you kind of like, if you like Journey to the Center of Earth type movies, that kind of thing. You know, that had some barbarians in it, and it had a few dinosaurs in there too. Of course, you know, it was more claymation than anything. I couldn't find anything. I tried search for a box office worldwide, what it might have made, but there was nothing I could find. So I couldn't tell you what the box office for it was, what it made. It's funny, some of them box office sites that you go to, they don't list, you know, a lot of past movies, like Box Office Mojo or the numbers. They won't list anything that isn't like wasn't really popular, or that's not more current, like from the 2000s and up. But anyways, the movie wasn't bad. It was all right for a watch. Like I said, Doug McClure don't show up till towards the last 15 minutes of the movie, and it's basically about, you know, some friends of his who are trying to. They take an airplane over the mountain or ice glaciers or whatever to find the place he was at. They got his bottle message that was sent at the end of the first movie, So they went to try to rescue him. They eventually they crash land, and they leave one guy to fix the plane, and then the rest of them, there's three of them, there's two guys and a woman. They go to find their friend, and they eventually come across this woman who helps them out, who actually knows their friend. He taught her English, and then they go to find, and they run across these barbarians that's keeping them trapped. They killed his woman from the first one, and they've literally wiped out the whole tribe of this one woman that they found that's helping them. But anyway, they get him out. But spoiler alert, they end up killing him off anyway. Like, he don't last very long. That's why I say he's only in there for like 15 minutes. Anyways, the rest of them, they escape. They finally get back on the plane. The other guys fixed it, and they go home. That's pretty much the end of the movie. The next one we're going to talk about is called When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. This was a British film, but it dealt with what if men, how men might have interacted with dinosaurs, and it was more like a caveman movie. Of course, now realistically, we know that all the women, when man was first on the earth, the women weren't like super clean and gorgeous, but of course in these movies, a lot of these movies, they are, and the men are just dirty and got dirt all over them all the time, blah blah blah. It's a little bit ridiculous, but anyways, there's no subtitles in this film, so the entire movie is basically shot with like the language is a caveman style language. They say Akita like 500 times and Nika all over and over again, like hundreds of times, with a few other words thrown in between. So you don't know what they're talking about or what they're saying. You just kind of have to guess. It's more, you're relying on visuals is what it is. You kind of have to figure out what's going on by watching. It was hard to. I kind of liked it, but at the same time, I didn't like it just because of that reason. I'd rather be able to understand what's going on, and be able to at least know what they're talking about. But I made it through the whole movie, so it wasn't too bad. The acting wasn't all that bad or whatever. Basically, what's going on is you have, from what I could figure out, is you have this tribe who sacrifices anyone who's blonde. If you have blonde hair, you're doomed. And they have several of these women and these guys who apparently have really bright blonde hair, almost white. So part of the tribe sees this, and if they have blonde hair, so as I was saying, you had these blondes that the tribe was sacrificing to their supposed sun god or whatever. At the beginning of the movie, one of the blondes, she lives, and it's ridiculous because they're jumping into the water, so it makes no sense, like the ocean. why they would be killed, but apparently sometimes they fall on the rocks or something. Uh, anyways, one of them survives. She falls in the water, and this raft, it looked like a raft, of guys from a different tribe pick her up and take her home. One guy, he falls in love with her. There's some commotion going on in his tribe because the other tribe shows up looking for her, and they go hunting for her. Well, and they have the help of the other tribe that took her in. They go hunting for her too. Well, they think that she gets killed, and the guy who fell in love with her kind of becomes friends with one of the other guys from the other tribe, and eventually he finds her again, and he claims her as his woman or whatever, and she claims him as her man, and they're in love together, and they try to run off, but the two tribes join together. Well, before that, they actually tried to kill the guy who fell in love with her for falling in love with a blonde woman, I guess. He finds out there's a whole bunch of them in their tribe that they're sacrificing. But they try to kill him for falling in love with him, and his buddy, he really doesn't want to hurt him, but he's kind of following his chieftain's orders or whatever. But eventually, he survives. He doesn't die. They find out that they're together, and they start hunting him down. They capture him. She gets away. Then they're getting ready to kill him again when there's this terrific storm, and everyone's running away. She shows up. She helps him escape. They actually get on a boat with this friend and this other girl who was her friend. They both get on this boat, and they take off, and the main chieftain, he tries to kill him again, but they get away, but he doesn't, and they get away. And apparently there was no moon at the time, because at the end of the movie they show this bright moon, and they're just amazed at this moon. Apparently there was no moon at the time, there was just the sun. But anyway, that's the gist of the movie. Like I said, it was okay, but it wasn't like, it was kind of hard to understand or get it, because they didn't explain what was going on. You had to kind of just figure it out on your own. But if you like them type of caveman movies, it was okay, I guess. The next movie I want to talk to you about is the original, not the 80s version, but the 50, I think it was 58, almost 60s version of the Blob. This is a huge cult classic, sci-fi classic, about this goo. I guess that's what you would call it, the goo that absorbs people and eats them. It actually made about $4 million, which was pretty good for back then, worldwide. And it stars Steve McQueen, which was really popular back then, popular actor. Basically, at the very beginning of the movie, Steve McQueen and his girlfriend see this meteorite crash, and they go to try to find it, and they can't find it. Well, this old man crashed near his cabin. He goes out there to check on it, and he pokes it with a stick, and it pops open, and this gooey-like substance jumps on his hand. He can't get it off, so he freaks out, runs into the road, and Steve McQueen and his girlfriend Nilla run him over. They take him to the town doctor, which was, I guess, was the norm back then. But the town doctor, they take him to him. His buddies, Steve McQueen's buddies, see him doing this, and they follow him. He takes him to the doctor, and the doctor tells him just leave him there and go look around and see, if there was anyone who witnessed what happened, because the old man can't really talk; he's unconscious. So basically, they go look at the old man's place and realize no one was there to see what was going on. Steve McQueen and his girlfriend, they go back to the docks while his buddies go to the theater. Steve McQueen, at this time, the Blob has basically eaten the old man and even eaten the doctor's nurse. Steve McQueen shows up and sees the doc getting eaten in his office. He goes to tell the police and or the sheriff and his couple of deputies what's going on. One of them doesn't believe him. He thinks all teenagers are just out looking to cause trouble. It's a prank or whatever. But they go looking. They realize something happened, but they think it might be a break-in or whatever. Eventually Steve McQueen and his buddies, they get together and they start looking for the Blob. They can't find it, so they make this ruckus in the town, and the sheriff shows up. He says, okay, I believe that something happened, something's going on, because he knows him real well. So he starts to think about looking for this thing when all the people in the theater start running out, and they actually see the Blob itself, so they know something's going on now. Steve McQueen's girlfriend, they end up chasing after her little brother, who goes into this diner across from the theater, and the Blob swallows the diner and is heading its way into the basement where Steve McQueen and them are at. Well, he was talking on the phone to the sheriff at first, and he leaves it off the hook, and they go downstairs. He finds out that just by accident, he finds out that CO2 or fire extinguishers or extreme cold hurts it, or it doesn't like it, the Blob. So he's yelling at from the top of his lungs from the basement, so they could hear him on the phone from upstairs. So the townsfolk, they all grab CO2 canisters, and they freeze the Blob, and at the very end it shows them dump it off in Antarctica, and that's pretty much the end. Anyways, the movie made, like I said, $4 million at the box office, so that was pretty good for back then. It was interesting. The graphics, of course, are not like superb or anything. It was 1958, but they actually did quite decent with the graphics for back then. It wasn't too bad what they did. I enjoyed the story, so I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So if you're into a movie with a real good storyline, and just instead of just relying on graphics to push it forward like they do with most movies today, this is definitely for you. It was actually a really good movie, surprisingly. You know, most movies from back then, and most movies that are earlier than '80s, you know, I'll give them a watch, but a lot of times I'm not real big on them because it just, I don't know. It's not so much graphics as it is just the overall movie. You know, sometimes it just doesn't mesh well for some reason. But for the most part, this was a good movie. I give it, you know, I tell you to give it a thumbs up and try it out. Now, my video's getting a little long, so I'm going to end it right there. I do have a few others to go over. I'll do that in the next video for next week. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. You know, suggest a movie or something for me to review for you, and I will. There might be something I've never seen that you have that I wouldn't mind checking out. So I told you I'd tell you the truth, and you just been told.